In Rockefeller Center, USA, it's time for Up Against the Clock. Today's contestants, she had the unique privilege of eating a Thanksgiving turkey on live television with Steve Kornacki. Please welcome L. Joy Williams. He once rode through the Amazon with a giant anaconda, and on a completely unrelated note, he now covers Congress. It's John Stanton. He was voted most opinionated in his high school class. Today, he's been sharing his opinions with us. Say hello to Josh Barrow. And now, the host of Up Against the Clock, Steve Kornacki.
Thank you, Jim Cutler. Thank you to everyone out there in TV land for tuning in today for another exciting, thrill-packed edition of Up Against the Clock. Let me remind you how it all works. This is a fast-paced political news and current events quiz. We play 3 rounds, each of them 100 seconds long. There's 100-point questions in the first round, 200 points in the second, 300 in the third. They get harder as we go along. Contestants, a reminder that you can ring in anytime, but you will be penalized for incorrect answers, so be careful. And also, there are 2 special bonus questions scattered in the questions here. We will explain them when they come up. Our contestants will be playing today not just for victory, but also for a chance to play in our annual Tournament of Champions. To qualify, you're going to have to first win today. And as always, I will implore our live studio audience, please, no outbursts. Contestants, I'll now ask you, you're in place, to place your hands on your buzzers. Are you ready to play? Yes. They look and sound ready to me. We'll put 100 seconds on the clock. The 100-point round begins with this. On Thursday, Dr. Kent Brantley was released from the hospital after being infected by this disease. Josh. Ebola. Ebola's correct. 100 points for Josh. 100-point toss-up. The possibility of another government shutdown in 2015 was introduced this week by this top Senate Republican. Josh. Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell. That's correct. 100-point question here. With 3 weeks to go until the Democratic primary, a debate was held Tuesday between the 3 Democratic candidates in Massachusetts who are vying to replace this current governor. Josh. Deval Patrick. Deval Patrick's correct. 100 points for Josh, the early leader. Back with this 100-point toss-up. After Dan Shapiro, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, took the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge this week, this U.S. Cabinet Department decided to ban its high-level employees from future participation. Josh. State. State Department did that. 100 points more for Josh. 100-point toss-up question. The 66th annual Primetime Emmys will be held this coming Monday. Among the nominees for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama is this woman who plays Olivia Pope. Eljoy. Oh, shoot. Did I just... Time. Oh, my gosh. Josh. Kerry Washington. Kerry Washington's correct. Stop the clock because, Josh, I have some exciting news for you. Not only did you get 100 points for correctly answering that, but that is our video bonus question. So we have a special celebrity guest here who is going to read you a bonus question. This is a risk-free proposition. If you get it right, 100 extra points. If you get it wrong, no penalty for guessing. Let's listen to the celebrity.
Hi, I'm Tony Goldwyn, and I have this week's Up Against the Clock quote of note. Government is like a big baby, an alimentary canal with a big appetite at one end and no responsibility at the other.
Josh, do you recognize the quote?
Is that Ronald Reagan?
It is Ronald Reagan. 100 more points for Josh. Yeah. Off to a furious start here. Restart the clock. 100-point toss-up question. IP addresses from congressional offices were banned this week from making updates to this user. John. Wikipedia. Wikipedia is correct. 100 points for John. 100-point toss-up. States will be allowed to delay using standardized test results to rate teachers for another year. This Secretary of Education announced. Josh.
Arnie Duncan.
Arnie Duncan said it. Former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell admitted during testimony that during his corruption trial that he is residing with a member of the clergy of this religion. John.
Catholicism.
Catholicism, correct. 100 points at the wire for John. End of the 100-point round. Josh with the lead at 700. John at 200. Eljoy negative 100. But good news, You can make up a lot of ground fast when we double the value of the points. This is the 200-point round. A little harder, a lot more valuable. 100 seconds on the clock. The game continues with this. Paul Ryan this week suggested that the next Speaker of the House should be Jeb Hensarling, who chairs the House Financial Services Committee and represents this state. Josh.
Texas.
Texas is correct. 200 points for Josh. 200-point question. Russia is allegedly retaliating against U.S. sanctions by shutting down its locations of what internationally known fast food? John.
McDonald's.
McDonald's is correct. Stop the clock. Exciting news for you, John. You just got 200 points, and now I'm going to offer you a proposition because this is our use it or lose it bonus question you've just stumbled on. Here's how it works. I have here a follow-up question to the one you just answered. It is related in some way. You can choose to take that question, and if you answer it correctly, we will double your winnings, give you an additional 200 points. If you incorrectly answer it, we'll take the 200 points you won away. So I have the question here. Will you use it or lose it?
I'll use it.
He'll use it. Here is the follow-up question for 200 additional points. McDonald's busiest location in the world is located in this famous Moscow locale.
The Kremlin.
Incorrect. It's Pushkin or Pushkin Square. I've never been, but it's 200 points off. I'm sorry, but I admire your guts for taking the shot there. Put the clock back on here. It's running again. 200-point question. We go with this. This bank agreed this week to pay more than Josh.
Bank of America.
Bank of America paid more than $16 billion. Correct. 200-point toss-up. According to a report in the Wall Street Journal this week, potential musical are being asked to pay money in order to, Josh.
The Super Bowl.
To play at the Super Bowl. 200 more for Josh. Running away here. 200-point toss-up. On Tuesday, former Alaska Attorney General Dan Sullivan won the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate seat, defeating this Tea Party favorite, Josh.
Joe Miller.
Defeated Joe Miller. 200 more points. 200-point toss-up. New York Times reporter Matthew Rosenberg was expelled from this country this week after being accused by its government of espionage. John.
Iran.
Incorrect. We'll call time. It's Afghanistan. Afghanistan. 200-point question. On Wednesday, the Supreme Court delayed the issuing of same-sex marriage licenses from beginning in this southern state. Josh.
Virginia.
In Virginia. That is correct. 200-point question. A new poll in New Hampshire this week found Scott Brown polling within 4 points of this incumbent Democratic senator. Josh.
Jeanne Shaheen.
Jeanne Shaheen is correct. On Monday, the U.S. Open will begin at the New York Tennis Center named for this trailblazing, Josh.
Arthur Ashe.
Incorrect. I'll complete the question. At the tennis center named for this trailblazing female tennis star, Eljoy.
Billie Jean King.
Billie Jean King is correct. 300 points for Eljoy. End of the 200 points there. Josh had 1,700. John had 0. Eljoy on the board at 200, and this moves us to the final round, the 300-point round, the PhD round. We're going to dim the lights for dramatic effect, play some dramatic music, and we'll crown a champion at the end of this round. The points can add up fast here. Everybody is still in this game. 300-point round begins now. This former senator who single-handedly shifted control of the Senate when he defected, John.
Jim Jeffords.
Jim Jeffords died this week. 300 points for John. Top bankers from around the world, including Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen, are gathered this weekend for the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City's annual Josh.
Jackson Hole.
It is in Jackson Hole. That's correct. 300-point in a new ad. Georgia Senate candidate, Democrat Michelle Nunn, is touting the endorsement of this former governor and U.S. senator who famously challenged Chris Matthews to a duel. Josh.
Zell Miller.
Zell Miller challenged him to duel. That's correct. 300 points. 300-point toss-up. President Obama's former campaign manager, David Plouffe, was hired this week by this, Josh.
Uber.
I'll complete the question. David Plouffe, incorrect, was hired this week by this startup transportation company, Uber, which is headquartered in what city? No guesses? We'll call time. The city is San Francisco. 300-point toss-up question. Before Rick Perry was indicted last week, the previous sitting governor to be indicted while in office was John Rowland from this state. Josh.
Connecticut.
He is from Connecticut. Correct. 300 points for Josh. 300-point toss-up. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, also an ophthalmologist, traveled to this country this week on a, Josh.
Guatemala.
Guatemala. Might have come up earlier in the show. Unwittingly conceding the election, Democrat Rick Weiland accidentally referred to his Republican opponent, Mike Rounds, as senator in a debate this week for the open Senate seat in this, Josh.
South Dakota.
In South Dakota, that is correct. 300 points for Josh. That's the horn. That's the game. That's a very impressive score, Josh. 2,900 points, 300, 100. I think we crowned Josh the winner. And, Josh, that means you're going to get this prize package that Bill Wolf